Catfish poachers caught. Now, I bet a few of you are asking yourself, how do you poach catfish? Now, I'm going to talk about the article and read it first, and then we're going to have a little chat about maybe why they're doing this and about, catfish poaching. Now, as a quick disclaimer, I'm going to talk about some third-party stuff that I've been told, and some of the facts that I have, I don't have anything to back up on them. So be sure to make up your own mind over this situation. Now, my cat is once again trying to get into my little podcast here. Anyway, this was found on Facebook. The Indiana DNR Division of Law Enforcement. And here's the article, and it reads, 2 commercial fishermen were stopped recently on the Ohio River near Lawrenceburg, Indiana. They were found to be in possession of double their daily bag limit of trophy-sized catfish. After further investigation, approximately 3/4 of a mile of illegal trot lines were removed from the Ohio River and that were placed by the commercial fishermen. The catfish were released back into the Ohio River. So this was live trophy catfish over their daily bag limit of catfish. They were trophy sized, they were live. Now, catfish, they are a limited resource. There's only so many fish in the river or in a lake. And I know I've talked to multiple old timers who have told me, yeah, the fishing was great, 10, 15 years ago, and then the commercial guys came, and now the fishing is not so great. So we do have the ability to hurt the waterways if we take too many catfish out of them, even if it's small ones, big ones, whatever. The big ones are the breeders. So if you remove these big trophy-sized catfish, the population will crash. A year to 2-year-old catfish, they can spawn. Maybe have a couple of hundred offspring. But a trophy-sized one, 30, 40, 50, 60 pounder, they're going to have 10,000 survivors. So you can see a lake that has a good trophy population will also have a good eater population in it. Now, there is a serious reason why these commercial fishermen are keeping live trophy catfish. And let's rewind the clock here 30 to 40 years. Back then, there were pay lakes. These pay lakes would stock ponds with either catfish or trout or whatever else. I actually went to one. It was called the Cross-Eyed Cricket. And I never really got to catfish at that pond because the catfish almost always had parasites. And they did not want to sell catfish with contaminated meat, with parasites. That's the way the pay lakes used to work. You would go there, and what you caught is what you paid for. There was no entry fee or anything like that, at least at the Cross-Eyed Cricket. Now, the trout pond was something else. We could go there, or, families would go there. You'd have cane poles and corn and sit there, have a good time, not catching trout, which is is an issue. However, if you throw a rooster tail, that is a game changer. And I got permission when I was younger, when I was a teenager, to throw a rooster tail. And it was every single trout in that pond would chase my rooster tail. And they told me that if I caught anything, I had to keep it. So I asked the neighbors, like, you want trout, you want trout, you want trout. I was filling up everybody else's buckets and filled myself up a bucket, bought the trout, took it home, and ate them. It was a good time. It was a fun time. Now, start fast forwarding to the future. Someone who owned, or probably multiple pay lake owners, realized that if you take, big 30, 40, 50 pound catfish, you put it in your pond, all of a sudden you have all kinds of people coming there trying to catch that big fish. And this is when these pay lakes started going from family fun to gambling establishments. They started charging an entry fee, and if you caught, that 50-pound fish that's now 20 pounds, you win $100. And it evolved from that to they stopped stalking farm raised catfish and started getting these commercial guys to catch live trophy sized fish and stock their ponds. And this started problems with these pay lakes. They realized that they're having to dump, 100 pounds, 200 pounds of fish out of their lake somewhere in a garbage can, in the woods or whatever, because the fish were dying. So they'd have to continually restock these ponds. And people started, thinking, hey, this might be a bad thing. They started taking pictures of where they were dumping fish. The pay lake owners realized this and started hiding where they were dumping the fish just because it's so much waste. It's tons and tons of wasted catfish meat. You cannot eat it. It is garbage meat pretty much by the time they find it, floating on the side of the bank in the morning before their Patreons come to fish for them. And because of this, obviously, you also have to weekly have 1,500 to 3,000 pounds of catfish put in your ponds almost on a weekly basis just to have something, in there for your Patreons to catch. And that is another problem. Sometimes they just, they're in a pond like this, they're not going to bite. So they start putting chemicals in the water to force the fish to bite. And so they started upping their entry fees. It cost more and more to get in, and they started having tournaments. And I can take a bet that it's even higher that they charge for the tournaments. And then, they have a reel or something they give away. It's basically gambling of who can catch the biggest diseased catfish you can out of a pond. And they have those weird rules of you can't pick the fish up. It's because they want that fish to be caught again and again and again, at least until it dies and ends up wherever, they're throwing them away. It's a big problem. I know Steve Douglas, the catfish dude, was the first person that I heard from that talked about this problem. He has been a tournament guy for years, 30 years. And he's personally, him and his tournament, the people that run tournaments on the Ohio River saw the decline in fish. As soon as these pay lakes started taking these trophy fish, there was a decline. You can see the baskets would be, they catch over 100 pounds, and then under 100 pounds, and under 80 pounds, and then under 70 pounds, and there was a decline over time. And not only that, these pay lakes have been, some of the commercial fishermen, some of the actual pay lakes themselves, when they have their own live well trucks, have been caught in Tennessee, in Alabama, taking fish. I spoke to a game warden one time. This was, like I said, I'm getting this information from a game warden. When they opened up buffalo fishing in Fort Loudon, they caught multiple fishermen that were supposed to only be fishing for buffalo. They had trophy-sized catfish in their live wells. And this was at a time, Tennessee actually saw this as a problem pretty quick. And now we have, before this was an actual problem, we had a limit on large catfish. You could only keep one over 34 inches. And it's still that. You can only keep one over 34 inches. But it has to be dead now because they passed a new law where you cannot transport live trophy catfish. And it's like I-75 goes through Knoxville, goes to Chattanooga. This I-75 is the illegal transport corridor of trophy catfish for these pay lakes up north. And like I said, the buffalo guys, they got caught with trophy catfish. And then there was another one. I couldn't find the article. I wanted to bring the article on here, but I couldn't find it. I saw it like months ago. It might have been a year ago. Where in Alabama, some guys were caught Same thing, keeping trophy catfish, and they passed similar laws down there, and they got fined. There's another thing, another problem with this. These pay lakes also make money off of bait. So they will come up here and catch over their limit of skipjacks to sell them to the people there. Because skipjacks, they hold up really well when you freeze them. We all know this. And so they've been caught. I saw this, like I said, I couldn't find this article either, or it was either article or it was a Facebook post or something. But there was these guys. They said that they've been caught multiple times and fined multiple times for keeping more skipjacks than they should. And I'm like, okay, why do these guys still have a license? Why are they still coming down here? They've done it twice already. So that, it's a problem. These commercial gambling establishments, trophy pay lakes, are a big problem. Now, I'm fine with a pay lake. A lot of people online get them confused. You have pay lake, you have trophy pay lake. And, the pay lake, like I said, it's something, farm raised fish, they sell you the fish you catch. It's family fun. It's what these guys should still be doing, but they're not doing it. They've become trophy pay lakes. You pay to enter. You pay to be part of their tournaments, and you're catching fish that have been taken from the wild, put into these ponds, who die probably easily within a month or two. And that's more than likely what these guys were doing. They were going to sell to a pay lake. Now, this is a huge coincidence, and it's something that I probably shouldn't have done myself, but I heard someone I know told me they saw a certain pay lake. I mean, it was indistinguishable. They were seen at a ramp on Wheeler, and I was like, what? Wheeler is, I mean, they have tourism that revolves around the trophy catfishing there. Basically the tournaments. When the tournaments come to town, all the locals make a lot of money. They love, love, love the tournaments. It is known as a monster catfish lake. And now, a pay lake truck was seen at one of their ramps, and they got away before the wildlife agency got there to catch them. So, and this made me angry. I mean, it's like I heard, they were in Watts Bar for a long time. I watched that. I mean, I used to be able to go to Watts Bar, and the 20-pounder was nothing. Every single time, 20-pound, 20. And then now, getting a 20-pounder is rough. It's harder to catch them. And I feel that it's getting better. I'm getting bigger and bigger fish in the boat. But they hit Watts Bar hard. It is a very large lake. It's got multiple ramps that are in the absolute middle of nowhere. Easy to get big fish and take them up north illegally to put in their ponds. And then I started hearing rumors that they were in Upper Guntersville. That's another big fish area. And I'm like, oh, great. My buddy Ty, he caught on a guided trip two 100-pound class fish in that lake. And I think that may have been seen by these commercial fishermen and trophy pay lakers, pay lake owners or whatever, and they started hitting Guntersville hard, which really saddens me. And then now I hear that he hit Wheeler. Oh boy, that kind of made me angry. And I went on Facebook, which like I said, I shouldn't have done this, but I'm like, why are you in Wheeler? Please leave. I pretty much exactly what I said. I said, saw you, you're in Wheeler. Please stop. I just did something like that, letting them know, I know you're there. Stop doing this. And they replied and said, oh, we get our trophy fish from Indiana. That article. And then, a few weeks later, this article comes out. And it's like, hey, the Indiana, I don't know Indiana's rules, and I've talked. I looked online trying to figure out their catfish rules too, and I was not able to find anything. It was kind of weird. They don't post their stuff easy to find for some reason. I guess it's buried in legislation or something. And I've been told by multiple people that Indiana has a lot of room for improvement with their wildlife agency, like when it comes to catfish, when it comes to deer, when it comes to practically everything. But I don't know. I don't live in Indiana. If you have heard that Indiana does need room for improvement, leave a comment below here on this YouTube video. I don't know if you can leave a comment on the podcasting, platforms that I might post this to, but I know you can on YouTube. And so after that, all of a sudden, some guys are caught, which it does kind of make me smile. I didn't contact the Indiana DNR. I probably should have, but I stepped back and I was like, I probably shouldn't do that, but maybe I should have. He said Indiana, and then gets caught, and with the Indiana DNR catches some guys with too many fish, which, like I said, I think it's a good thing. We do have problems where it's hard to enforce these laws. There's only so many game wardens out there. And I know Alabama, Tennessee, almost every state has a shortage of game wardens. So if you enact a law, there's people are still going to break it because they know they're more than likely to be successful multiple times, and then that one time they get caught, that $1,000 fine, well, they just made $10,000 or more on the 10 other times that they didn't get caught. So that it's kind of a bigger problem, and honestly, we need to directly like focus on the pay pawns themselves and try to get this stopped. Tell them, make it laws that they can't commercialize these large trophy live fish and just stick to farm raised fish. Some type of certificate that they're farm raised, get them back to what they were. But there's another side to this, though. I will look at the other side. The Pay Lake owners, they have families. They are just trying to make money, and it's understandable. And if you find a way to make more money, why not do it? I mean, that's their mindset, and it's understandable. It's also the same for their Patreons, the people who actually pay money to go here. They're going there for a chance to catch a big fish. And I really don't like the argument of, oh, well, these pay lakes are in areas where there's no big fish. Well, the majority of them are within like 30 minutes of the Ohio River. I mean, you could go to the Ohio River and have your chance at a big wild fish that's healthy. But instead, they're going to a pond where you might have a chance to catch an unhealthy fish that, they've used chemicals to get to bite. So it's a problem. I don't know how to address it. Years ago, I say this on the podcast, and this shows, how, hello, kitty, how much of a problem this is, right? So I came up with an idea. It's like, why don't I go try to film one of these? And I probably should have kept that to myself, but I posted it somewhere or whatever, and I got actual threats. They said they would shoot me if I came up there to film their ponds. And I took screenshots of all of this, and I sent it to their law enforcement, and to my knowledge, absolutely nothing happened. That Pay Lake is still, they're still there. They're still taking the fish out of our rivers. They still have Patreons. From my knowledge, nothing happened. And, that was 2 or 3 computers ago for me, so I don't even have those, screenshots or anything anymore. So I can't show you that I actually got threatened to film up there. So it's a big problem. These guys, it is their, like I said earlier, it is their livelihood, but they're hurting our waterways. So where can we meet in the middle? I have no idea. Now I know there are individuals that are working to try to solve this problem, and to my knowledge, only one organization, and that organization a lot of people dislike. And it's because they're quiet. They are working the political side. And when it comes to politics, things are slow. They are slow, and money matters. So they don't talk about what they're doing or who they're talking to, because if a pay lake figured out who they were talking to, they might be able to get to them and say, "Hey, this is our livelihood. Here's a couple $1,000 donation to your next campaign, and let's keep things the way they are." On the political side, they're quiet, and that has caused a lot of ruckus. It makes people think that they're running away with the money. And I haven't donated to them, but I know the guy behind the scenes. I know the guy that's working it, and he's a good guy. My interactions with him, he is into catfishing. He loves catfishing. He loves making products for catfishing. He's a generally good guy, and I've met him in person multiple times. He's always, he's a good guy, and it's the ACA, the American Catfishing Association. Someday, whenever I have the money to do it, I will probably donate to their cause, at least something. But I have it myself, but I mean, I'm not going to let that stop me from saying, at least that's a single organization that's trying to do something. Now, if there's other organizations, leave a comment below. I'd like to know, who else out there is trying to address this problem with trophy pay lakes. But yeah, I think that's about it for this round, for this little podcast. This did get published on July 3rd at 5:30 p.m., probably my time. I'm in Eastern time. And, it's something positive. At least somebody got caught. That doesn't mean it's going to stop them from continuing to, try to get more big fish. But hey, it is what it is. It's a step in the right direction, and who knows? Maybe things will change. It takes action. It takes, people talking about it, people trying to get laws passed or things done to address the problem, or at least, come up with a better solution than just taking, these fish out of our wild waterways. Now, as always, I want to thank you for taking your time out of your day to watch or listen to this video podcast. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah, talk. Gotta learn how to talk. But hopefully, I'll be able to do some actual fishing for my YouTube channel sometime in the future. But for now, I don't mind doing these podcasts. I do need to get a few into my new podcast tab on my YouTube channel. Also, I'm going to ask a question for a review on YouTube. And you can leave a comment below of what you think. And I might even make a poll or even put a community post. Should I take some of my past content that is kind of like this, that is old but podcast worthy stuff, and put that in my podcast tab, playlist, whatever? So just let me know in the comments below. And my cat says hello again. Anyway, thanks guys for watching and listening, and hope to see you next time.